please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos. Well, after several years and several attempts, Kirsten and I finally made it down into Dysselsdorp yesterday for an overnighter, and our plan was to spend 2 nights. So when we eventually did get to our accommodation, right at the end of the Dysselsdorp Valley, they had no water. There had been flooding the night before and it washed the pipes away, and we got to our accommodation, unpacked everything, and then discovered that there was absolutely no water. Then one of the managers did come to say, look, there's no water, there's a problem. So basically we left and we found other accommodation in the valley, and we decided to rather do 1 night instead of 2, purely just because where we were going to stay was probably a little bit better, and there was a nice splash pool, and we thought maybe we could spend 2 days there. But as I've said, Dysselsdorp is Dysselsdorp. The road is hell, the heat is hell, but it's what brings people here. It is probably one of the most remote places you can drive to in South Africa. From Swartberg Pass, the sign actually says 37 kilometers 2 hours, but that's just to the 400-meter descent. That's not into the rest of Dysselsdorp. Where we had to go was actually 54 kilometers from the Swartberg Road turnoff. So that took us a total of 3.5 hours, and your average speed that you can drive at is between 10-15 kilometers an hour, and there are a couple of stretches where the road is still all right, that you can go maybe 20 kilometers an hour, but that's it. It is a slow, rocky, slow, washed out drive. You have to do it in a 4-wheel drive, preferably with high clearance as well, and there's no need to use low range or anything like that, but there are parts you're going to have to use 4-wheel drive. We went through a very long, very deep river crossing yesterday as well, and on the other side the bank is destroyed. It's just boulders. You have to climb over the boulders, and yes, you do need high clearance and 4-wheel drive to get through sections like that. I definitely wouldn't recommend it as a day drive. Even if you leave at 6 in the morning from either Oudtshoorn or Prince Albert, it's still going to take you 3.5 to 4 hours to get into the bottom of Dysselsdorp. Maybe you can have lunch here, there are some restaurants, and then you've got to drive out again. It's actually worth staying the night and driving out the next morning. Support the local communities, but remember, you're not coming down here for luxury. It's basic accommodation, everything is basic, but it's beautiful and it's completely remote. So will we come back to Dysselsdorp? Probably not in a hurry, not unless we have to, or not unless there's something specific we want to do. But it certainly is a hell drive, and in the summer months it's hell down here. Temperatures here are well over 40, 45 degrees, even up to 50. So you got to understand, if you have a power pack, you need to bring that with you, because there's no electricity. You need it to charge phones. Maybe you can run a small portable fan as well, which will help you sleep, which is great. Other than that, Dysselsdorp's ticked off the bucket list, and we're going to head out early this morning and continue with our adventure. So before we head out, let's quickly have a look at these maps.
Okay, so we're going to exit Dysselsdorp and then go down into Swartberg Pass and take this route all the way down to Oudtshoorn.
So then after Oudtshoorn, we're going to go on the gravel road through Dysselsdorp all the way down in the Kammanassie area, and then we're going to cross the N9, and we're going to come down into Louvain 4x4 farm down here, and this is the Voortrekker Pass up here in the Oudtshoorn Mountains. drive out of Gamkaskloof takes just as long as coming in. So be sure to leave no later than 3 p.m. if you don't want to drive down Swartberg Pass into Oudtshoorn or Prince Albert in the dark. The next leg of our journey was to head south from Oudtshoorn into the Kammanassie farming region via Dysselsdorp, then proceed to the N9 into Louvain guest farm for 2 nights. The exceptionally scenic Voortrekker Pass crosses the Oudtshoorn Mountains from the northern side, from Louvain Guest Farm to the south into Bergplaats State Forest. Our plan was to drive the first 5.5 kilometers to the circular Viewpoint and back down to Louvain Guest Farm. The Voortrekker Pass is amongst the historic collection of ox wagon trails in the Cape Mountains. Dating back to 1776, it was used as a trade route between the coast and the Long Kloof Valley. The 21-kilometer pass starts at Louvain Guest Farm and crosses over into Bergplaats State Forest Reserve and eventually down into the 7 Passes route coming out at Woodville. It's strictly for 4x4s with high clearance and low range. It can only be done in one direction, starting from Louvain Guest Farm. Permits are available from the reception. As inviting as it looks, it's important to note that this pass is challenging on motorcycles. An expert level of off-road riding skill is required, and preferably on bikes smaller than 800cc. It's not a good idea to do this pass in a 4-wheel drive or on a motorcycle if there has been rain. It's an extremely dangerous pass in the wet. were fortunate in that the weather opened up to reveal the spectacular views of the Outtshoorn mountain range and the coast, all in one 360-degree view. Right now we're on top of the viewpoint at the Louvain 4x4 trail, the old Voortrekker Pass that goes right over into Bergplaats and down into the Seven Passes route. We've decided this morning to just do only to the viewpoint, purely because the idea was to go right the way through tomorrow. But if the weather's as predicted going to be rainy, then I'd rather not do this pass in the wet. Then we'll just go out the normal way and go down into Prince Alfred's Pass and down into Renendal. Very beautiful, very easy 4x4 trail, and absolutely stunning to get to this viewpoint with a 360-degree view right across on that side towards the Swartberg mountains, and this side towards the coast. In fact, we can see the Sedgefield Lagoon as we're looking to the east right now. I can see straight down into Swartvlei in Sedgefield. Join us in our next episode where we travel deep into the indigenous forests of Knysna along Komsapad Oxwagon Trail and the visually stunning Prince Alfred's Pass.